and we just put them on. They just roll on there, like that. And just go down. Getting hung up on the threads there. That's my valving stack. Okay. Now what goes next? The valve. Oh, we forgot one step. We got to put the O-ring onto the valve. This is the O-ring that comes in the kit. And I'm going to use a little bit of this. This is called DC4. You could probably use the fork oil too. That's probably a better thing to use. But I'm using this because this is what I'm used to. It's just a little like a petroleum-based jelly kind of lubricant that'll go in here and help get the O-ring on there, slide it on there without snagging the O-ring on these sharp metal bits. So just put the O-ring on the piston, nice and neat. I'm going to wipe off the excess DC4. You don't want too much on there. So then we take the piston, or excuse me, the valve with the recess pointing up and put it on the valving stack just like that. So then we have this guy goes on top like that, and here's the important thing. You see how that big shim doesn't match up with the diameter of the valve? You want to put this sleeve in here like that and make sure this shim can move up and down on that sleeve. That's the check valve action of this thing. So then we put the spring on, the cup-shaped washer. They don't give you a new one of these in the kit, and put it on there. And what I'm noticing here is that there's a little bit of room left. This valving stack is a lot shorter than the original. I'm trying to put the nut on here so I don't lose all of my parts when I let go of this thing. I'm going to lose all this. The threads are a little tough, a little sticky to get the nut on because I messed with them with a file. But with this nut backed all the way down, the piston shouldn't move. So let's take the nut back off, and it actually addresses that phenomenon in the directions, and it says blah, 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 blah. To get the proper valve stack thickness, you may need to place some of the original shims on the shaft just after the base plate. Note, any shims added must be larger in diameter than the last shim in the stack. Be sure the nut is fully engaging the threads. So it says you have to add a shim after the base plate. To get the proper valve stack thickness, you may need to place some of the original shims on the shaft just after the base plate. Any shims added must be larger in diameter than the last shim in the stack. Well, the last shim in the stack, now we got to take this whole thing back apart. This is a little sticky coming off these threads. I probably should clean these threads up a little bit better. Probably got a little burr on them or something. That's okay, I'm not going to worry about that right now. Let's take the nut off, take the little cup thing off, take the spring off, the spacer, or the sleeve rather, and this other spacer. Now it says to place it just after the base plate. I'm going to keep my valve stack intact, and here's my base plate. I'm going to try real hard not to mess up my stack. These parts are really small, and I got big fingers, so this is kind of a challenge. Just carefully lift off the base plate. And it says it has to be bigger than the last shim in the stack. So I'm going to choose some of my original shims over here. There's a couple of thicker ones that I'm going to pick. Where are they? Where are the thicker ones? These are the thicker ones here. I'm going to take 4 of these, okay, and just put them on the base plate, like that. I'll take 5. Since it's just being a spacer, it doesn't entirely matter. And then we're going to put the shim stack back on. Put the valve back on. I don't know if I did enough. The little sleeve, the plate, spring, the cup. Looks like that's going to be okay. And the nut. My hands are full of oil and stuff now, so I'm a little bit, my grip is not so good. I'm slipping. Oh, let's not forget, got to put some Loctite on that. They give you Loctite with the kit. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing over here. See that? Give you a little envelope of Loctite with the kit. Let's put the valve in the vise here with my soft jaws. Take this back off. Set this right here. This is the little bit of Loctite they give you. Just squirt some right on the threads. Loctite is, I believe they call it anaerobic, meaning it cures when it's in a confined space immediately. Well, the anaerobic doesn't mean immediately. It doesn't need air to cure. It needs to be in a confined space, like the space in between threads. I didn't do a real good job at setting that up, did I? So we're going to thread that down with the Loctite on it. And we have our trusty inch-pounds torque wrench here set at 47 inch-pounds. And we're just going to torque the nut. That's it. That's your valve stack. That's my valve stack. So the piston doesn't turn. This thing moves like it should. That's the valve stack. Now, I'm not a valving engineer, but my problem is that where I put these spacers, right there, where I put these spacers, seem like they would act as secondary valving to me. I don't know. We'll find out. What is neat to note is that I have all these threads here left over up on top, and remember I put this spacer down here. All these threads here and this spacer means I have lots of room to add more valving. I can add a low speed and a high speed stack if I was that bored. Okay, back over here. We still on? Okay. So I just realized that I was doing stuff without recording it. So anyhow, the only thing I did was I put a new crush gasket on my valve stack. This came new with the kit. Well, I had to order it, a new crush gasket. So now what we're going to do, oh, by the way, a word about the cartridge. This is the thing that controls the rebound damping. Still a little bit of cleaning fluid in there. This is the thing that controls the rebound damping. To get this cartridge apart, you have to drill out, where is it? This little indentation. Let's back it up a little bit. This piece is screwed into this piece. There's threads in here. You can see where it gets fatter right here and skinnier right here. There are threads right there. And this, where is it? That little indentation right there, there's 4 of them stamped in 4 places around here. This thing is threaded into this thing, and then these things are stamped in there to lock these 2 pieces together. If you want to take these apart, you have to drill out 4 of those, but only till, what did I say, 3 or 4 millimeters deep. I chose not to do that. So I'm going to leave this alone because rebound damping isn't really a big priority of mine. I'm just a guy who likes to go out riding in the woods. So we're going to slide the cartridge into the fork. just like this. And we can see it down here at this end. And we're going to put in our base valve. You use a 14 millimeter Allen head pin socket thingy, whatever you call one of these things. It's 14 millimeter because the recess in the valve is 14 millimeters. This goes in there, okay? So these are aluminum threads, so I like to be careful. So I'm not going to start with my impact gun. I'm going to start with my hands just to make sure it spins in there and it looks the way it should. And you can actually, I'm actually going to take this off and show that part. Let me see if I can. So there's the fork, and you can see the cartridge going in. And it's not centered in the fork right now. There's a little boss that it kind of rides up on, and it'll kind of center itself. I don't know if you can see that or not. Anyhow, that's how you know when the cartridge is bottomed and it's okay to put the screw in, or the base valve in. Excuse me. So we're gonna put this back on my high-tech vise. I have lots of high-tech stuff. Where did I put my base valve? Here it is. Base valve with the little wrench in there. I'm just going to do it by hand first because I don't want to booger it up. I want it to start correctly. I'm just going to hold this end and just screw this other end in by hand. And you can feel the cartridge and the base valve touching each other. Okay. So I'm just going to start this in by hand, and it's that simple. You can't see because my big fat arm's in the way, but I'm just turning this in, just like that. Until it wants to bottom out. In there, that's about bottom. Now I can feel the cartridge spinning on this end. So now what I'm going to do is take an impact wrench. Now this one is old and doesn't generate a lot of torque. So I'm going to use this one because I don't. This is the one I use to take it apart, and this one, I don't know, it's like 600-700 foot-pounds of torque. That might be too much. Might. Anyhow, so we're going to use this older one just so I can get this thing started, or get some torque on this base valve. Come on now. Air hose is tangled up. Ow! Just hit myself with the air hose. Do you like that? Okay. There we go. Ready? Okay. And just put some torque on it. And that's it, man. It's in. Okay? Now, I'm going to take my 1/2-inch socket, my little 14 millimeter and 1/2-inch socket, and I'm just going to test it out. Make sure I got some torque on there. Oh yeah, that's good and tight. That gun may produce a little bit more torque than I thought. Anyhow, so the cartridge is now in the fork. Hooray!